Hey folks, this is Kalani. The Dragonflight Prepatch is finally here, and so much has changed that you might feel a little lost with where to start. The huge talent overhaul is in, the user interface looks completely different, most of your add-ons are probably broken, there's a new race and class headed our way, there's talk of a shiny new event with some great catch-up potential, as well as big leveling changes, and several end-of-expansion limited achievements had their deadlines extended, so those rewards are still on the table. There's a lot to do with more content on the way, and that big expansion release is just around the corner. The weird part is that the pre-patch is being split into two, so we have some stuff to do right now and some stuff that we're going to have to wait for. So let's have a chat about what you can do to get ready for the Dragonflight launch so you're as prepared as possible, and also to kill some time before the real adventure begins. Now before we continue, today's video is sponsored by Mech Arena. Mech Arena pits teams of massive robots against each other in various game modes. You can use lasers, rockets, and all manner of weaponry to blow each other up. Robots and explosions, what's not to like? It's even more exciting right now as there's a new limited edition mech pilot being introduced with some very powerful bonuses, Neymar Jr. Neymar Jr. boosts your damage from both missile weapons and assault weapons, where pilots usually only boost one type of weapon. He's the only pilot with a special perk letting your mech sprint more often and for longer, so he combos great with all sorts of mechs to really boost their maneuverability and increase your mech's overall potential. You can make your scout mech even faster or give your tank mech a much needed speed boost, all while massively increasing your damage output. Neymar Jr. is the strongest pilot in the game right now, and you can get him for free. All you have to do is play Mech Arena on 7 different days between October 6th and December 18th. It's as simple as that. Mech Arena is free to play on PC, Android and iOS, and if you click the link in the description or scan the QR code here on screen, you'll get a special bonus worth $15 to help kickstart your game. The first thing I'm sure many players will do is play around with the class changes and the new talent system in pre-patch. Our old talent rows are gone and have been replaced with talent trees. We have one tree for general class points and abilities, and then one tree for your spec points and abilities. You will also probably have noticed you'll be missing a lot of your usual spells in your skill book or on your bars. That's because almost all abilities are now tied to or found in the talent trees. When you first log in, you'll be given a default talent tree, so some things will be there but others won't be, because this default tree isn't going to include everything and might not even be that good of an option for your class and spec. So have a quick look through your skill book, see what baseline abilities and passives you have, because that's the general groundwork for any and all talent builds going forward. When you've done that, I would recommend starting with the class tree. Class trees are way more general. You're going to see your utility options, some throughput options, and towards the end you can pick up some decent capstone talents that change up how you can play and give you better bonuses than most other talents in the class tree. And then move on to the spec tree, where you'll see a lot of the typical abilities, their passives, some upgraded functionality, as well as a whole bunch of borrowed power options from the last few expansions. This is where the meat is, this is where your fun builds are going to come from, but you may still need a good foundation in your class tree because there are so many different interactions and synergies that you can play around with. If you want something quick, you have the starter talents. I won't speak to how useful those builds are because I won't be using them for the most part. They seem to have at least most of the stuff you'd want for a general purpose build though. The main other option is going to be tree imports from Wowhead, Icy Veins, or your class Discord. I don't know which one is going to be better, so you're going to have to figure that out for yourself. There'll probably be some good ones you can import and just take. Hopefully they're complete trees. I know quite a few links over the last few days have been broken or just don't work, so fingers crossed they figure that out before too long. Even if you import a tree, I would still play about with it, move a few points around, see what that does to your build, see why they have taken the points that they have, drop some abilities to pick up some others. I think the best thing about these new talent trees is not only do they allow for customization and experimentation, the system as a whole also facilitates it in such a natural way. You can change talents anywhere now without needing to be in a rested area or use a tome. So if you die to a rare out in the world, or you wipe on a trash pull or a raid boss, or somewhere in a dungeon, you can very quickly change your talent in a really meaningful way. Maybe you want more crowd control options, maybe more members of your group need to pick up their interrupts, maybe there's that one spell or effect that could be really good on this specific boss because everything is clumped up. Whatever the situation, we can now freely adapt to it, and I think that's really cool. Now remember, you can also save your talent presets, so I would make a few builds, save them, and give them names that actually make it easy to understand what the build is for or which talents are being used. You can save a whole bunch of setups, so don't be afraid to go crazy with it. One build for soloing, one build for single target raid, one for raid bosses with ads, one for dungeons, one for AoE grinding. Don't limit yourself to just one or two builds. Play around with it, and if you get to a place that you really like or you just want to save it for later, save that talent setup. You'll thank yourself later when you can just quickly swap back and forth. The next thing I would encourage you to play around with is the new UI, and by play around with I mean wrestle into an acceptable state for you to play the game. I know some parts of this have been a bit wonky and some parts are still broken, but there's no way to get back to the old UI, so we're going to have to make the most of this until things smooth out a little bit. Thankfully you can edit and customize a lot of the UI, and many of the options that I've seen players complain about were actually just moved and shifted around a bit, so it's still there, you just have to go digging a little bit. This overhaul also messed up a lot of add-ons, so I would honestly disable most of your UI add-ons if they are causing issues until things settle down. When Dragonflight launches, we might see even more changes which could break even more things, so I'm going to stick with the default UI for now. Being able to move everything around is almost enough for me for the most part, so I haven't had too many problems. I would also try and get yourself acquainted with the changes in the options menu, because a lot of stuff has moved around there as well. Thankfully there's now a search bar and it actually works pretty well, so make good use of that if you can't find an option you're looking for. The user interface overhaul is definitely something you want to get a handle on, because as I said, there isn't an option to go backwards. In time I assume there will be an add-on to turn everything back the way it was, maybe, but until then this is our World of Warcraft user interface. So, when you've got a nice talent setup that you're happy with and the user interface is all nice and comfortable, what is there to actually do in this pre-patch? Well, honestly, for now, not that much. There aren't any new gameplay options for the most part, that's going to come in a bit later, so for this first portion of the pre-patch, it mainly just serves as a time to get used to the larger changes, get your characters in order, and get comfortable with everything so you can actually enjoy the new content when that does drop. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't anything to do though. Right now is a good time to get your alts leveled up, to a point anyway. We still have the 50% Winds of Wisdom buff, and that should stick around until November 15th. That makes leveling incredibly quick, even when compared to the large experience nerf that should arrive right after this buff expires. But here's the thing, that experience nerf is mainly concentrated in the 50 to 60 level bracket. You can see that on this chart here. If the line dips below the 0% marker, that's an experience requirement decrease for those levels. Everything goes way down towards the end of the leveling experience. That's where experience is massively tanking and where leveling is going to be much faster. So what I'm going to do, and what I recommend you do if you want to efficiently level your alts, is to level any alts you want up to level 50 right now. It should be about as fast, if not faster, than when those leveling experience changes come through, and then when the buff is gone and 50 to 60 gets that huge nerf and becomes much faster, you can knock out those last 10 levels in record speed. It's also worth noting that when those experience changes do come through, Shadowlands should be added into Chromie Time as well. Chromie Time should also extend all the way up to level 60, meaning you'll be able to level in any expansion for those last 10 levels, which is also a nice change from running Shadowlands over and over again for the last 2 years. So level up to 50 right now and then finish them off later. We're expecting the nerfs to come through with the second part of pre-patch on November 15th, but honestly, they've been kind of quiet about it. Hopefully that part of the pre-patch is actually ready to go. It would be a shame if it was delayed with Dragonflight right around the corner. I also think it's going to be quite fun leveling from scratch with the new talent trees in play. Instead of learning new skills automatically and having one talent every 15 levels or whatever it was to pick from, wasn't all too exciting, especially when the next talent row was utility based with zero gameplay interactions. Leveling up and getting talents to spend in these new trees could make leveling a lot more fun, so even if you don't want to take advantage of the buffs or level super efficiently or any of that, now is still a great time to level to see how things have changed with the massive system overhauls in pre-patch. Now this is also the best time to work on some of those last minute checklists. A lot of rewards and achievements are going away with the launch of Dragonflight, but you still have a few weeks left to secure them for yourself. You can still run Mythic Plus dungeons, increase your rating, earn Valor for gear upgrades, and even get some of the big meta achievements that were supposed to go away with pre-patch. So the Shadowlands Season 4 Keystone Master achievement and the Restoration Deathwalker mount rewards are still available up until Dragonflight's launch. That one will require 2000 Mythic Plus rating though. You can go one step further and get the Keystone Hero achievements too, which rewards you with the dungeon portals. That one will require you to run a plus 20 key for each dungeon portal you want. And then over on the raiding side of things, all 3 Shadowlands raids are now fated. That means you can very easily knock out the various fated raid achievements. Clearing all 3 fated raids on normal will reward you with the Jigglesworth Senior Slime Cat mount. Clearing heroic will earn you the Hero of Fate title, and then mythic will earn you portals to all 3 Shadowlands raids. So you can still get all of those achievements for completing the fated raids, and you don't have to worry about the rotating fated raid schedule, so you can knock it all out in 1 week, which is really nice. You can also still get the heroic Jailer mount, the mythic Jailer mount, and the mythic Sylvanas mount, although you will have to do all of those on fated now, so that might be quite a bit harder than it was before pre-patch. But the rewards are still there. And then as for PvP, you can still queue for rated PvP modes and earn rating and conquest. You can also work towards vicious mounts or vicious saddles, and of course you can still buy and upgrade your gear. And then if you haven't already, now is also a great time to hop into solo queue shuffle and see what that's about. This has been in the game for a little while now as a brawl and a more fun casual PvP option, but as we move into Dragonflight, this mode will have a rated option. That means you can get all rated PvP rewards from solo queue shuffle, which means you don't need a group to actually get rated PvP gear and goodies. We're talking rated PvP gear, conquest currency, vicious mounts, weekly vault progress, and even seasonal rewards like achievements, tights, mounts, gear, all that wonderful stuff. So getting in some practice right now might help you when you hit max level in Dragonflight and want to try your hand at some rated PvP. I think this is a great addition to the game, and it gives more players more access to those rated PvP rewards. If none of that sounds altogether too interesting, now is also a perfect time to just chill and work on some of your other goals, or take some time to clean up your character's bags and banks. As I said, we don't have any new content until November 15th, so from now until then, do whatever you want to do. Work on those fated achievements, level some alts, farm some mounts, maybe tinker with the new controller settings and options. I would also encourage you to clean out your bags to make sure you have room for all of the wonderful Dragonflight materials that we'll be hoarding for the next 2 years, or empty out your bag or regent bank to make room for relevant profession stuff, and it's even a great time to clean out your quest log. We're going to be picking up a whole bunch of new quests as we work through the Dragonflight zones, especially if you want to level professions as you go, so a clean quest log will make sure you don't run into that pesky quest log is full error message. So that's everything that we can do right now in the pre-patch, but there is quite a lot of content waiting just around the corner. On November 15th, Phase 2 of the pre-patch will begin. Phase 2 brings most of the new content, including a pre-patch event. During the event, we'll get elemental invasions in various zones. You can kill elemental lords to have a chance at catch-up gear, which was set at item level 252 last time I checked, as well as a new currency to purchase that very same gear from new vendors. So it's going to be a great time to gear up any fresh alts or new characters. There's also a new heirloom trinket to collect by killing every elemental lord in each invasion. Now, one question I know a lot of players have about the new event is, can we level our alts? Some older events were amazing for alt leveling and you barely had to do anything. Is this going to be another one of those events? We're not too sure. We do know that the event will scale to your level, so lower level characters can take part and earn appropriate credit with experience rewards for killing monsters and completing objectives. But from the very little testing that was done on this event, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a massive alt mega level farm like some previous pre-patch events have been. But honestly, it's just too early to say. The event was tested for a tiny window, which is why I actually don't have proper footage of it. The event wasn't working properly on the PTR when the testing started, so it ended very quickly. That hopefully means that some changes have been made, you know, to make it not broken. But that might include other changes like currency drop rates, vendor gear costs, and experience reward rate for under-leveled players. I'll keep my fingers crossed that it will be a decent leveling option, because I love it when these pre-patch events just take over the game for the 2 weeks that they're active. We will also be able to delve into the new Uldaman dungeon during the pre-patch event. The Legacy of Tyr is a revamped Uldaman dungeon experience, and is actually one of the new dungeons in Dragonflight, but during the pre-patch we can play through it at level 60 as well. It has some fun updated bosses and gives us some extra story breadcrumbs as we head into a new expansion, and if you keep your eyes peeled, you might find some rather special books which have some very interesting story implications regarding the Titans. It's not all good news, I'm afraid. The dungeon should also drop item level 278 gear, so that's going to be a bit more valuable than the other catch-up gear in the event. Phase 2 also introduces the Drakthea Evoker race class combo, so you can create a cool little dragon with a whole bunch of customization options and play about with the new class before Dragonflight launches. They're really fun, and I know a lot of folks are going to be insta-swapping to Evokers as their main, so that'll give us something else to do. And then, as we mentioned earlier, we should see those extra leveling changes come through, so the second phase of pre-patch will be a great time to finish leveling off any alts that you want to get ready for Dragonflight. Now, something else that you might not have known about or paid attention to is that we should have some Twitch drops to work towards. World of Warcraft related Twitch drops are quite interesting because I don't think we've ever had any before. We've had a lot of Overwatch drops recently, probably some Diablo Twitch drops here and there, but I don't think there have been any for WoW. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. I know there have been Prime Gaming rewards and goodies that you can get now, but Twitch drops is something new. We have no idea what these drops will include right now, so this is more something to keep an eye on for later, but I figure it's important to let you know anyway. But that's everything to do in the pre-patch right now and what extra content we have coming our way shortly. How are you spending your time waiting for Phase 2 of pre-patch and the launch of Dragonflight? Are you leveling up ults, playing around with talent, or maybe perfecting your new UI? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members here on YouTube. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you'd like to add your name to the end of every video with a special shout out at the start of the next video, you can find links in the description over to Patreon or click the join button just below this video. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching, folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.